So in order to become the authentic main character in your dream life, you can't live by other people's rules. A lot of us think that we have to grow up and have kids and have a big house and get married and all of the societal things, right? But that is not everybody's truth.
That is not everyone's truth. There's a lot of expectations put on you by parents, by your friends, by all these different outsourced resources that are put on you that cause you to behave in a certain way.
Obviously, if you're brought up in a certain culture, environment, if your parents are a certain way, then to a degree, you're conditioned into living within that culture, within that society, with those parents. So it can be difficult, obviously, to break away from those pressures and expectations. But if they don't serve you, if that's not true to you, then you're not being the main character, right? You're being a side character to someone else's life, to society's life, to the life that other people are telling you that you have to live.
So first you have to look at, hey, what is stopping me from being the main character to my true self? What is stopping me from living that dream life that I really want to live?
And of course, there are always unhealthy comparisons. We all do it. We all sit on Instagram or Facebook and we scroll and we look at these idyllic lives, right? Or these people who are living these lavish lifestyles that we can only, we think we can only dream of. They seem so far out of reach.
Yeah, like people living on yachts, people like living this mansion life or these fancy cars. Like, we compare ourselves to others and we're always losing, right? When we're looking at that stuff, it's always like an unhealthy comparison.
You are comparing yourself to someone who is already halfway through their specific journey. And you can't compare your beginning, you can't compare that to someone else's middle or someone else's end. You are on your own journey. And you can't compare that to anyone else's because it is completely unique to you.
Yeah, because this is unhealthy. Like, you want to be this main character and you're looking at people who are way ahead of you or maybe just a bit ahead of you, but it's still not rational when you're trying to align this kind of thinking. Like, when you want to become the main character, you have to look at it from a healthy perspective, right? And where you're at this moment in time and how to achieve what you want to achieve.
You can always compare to people who are on similar journeys because that is healthy to know that you're somewhat on the right path, right? Certain things you need to know that you're on the right path, but you again can't compare that journey to your own because you may get there in a completely different way than they did. Doesn't make your journey any less valid.
Do you want to live in a city? Do you want entertainment? Do you want sports events? Do you want all these close fashion places to go and check out, these stores? Or do you want to live
in the mountains,
in the country?
As simple as that. Do you want to live in a warm climate, a cold climate? Do you want seasons? Are you happy in the country that you were born and raised in, or do you want to venture out and try somewhere new?
What do you want? This is what we have to answer. Number 2 is like, what do I want, right? In my true self, like deep down, what do I want? Do I enjoy this? Do I enjoy that? And sometimes it takes some experimentation, right?
That's it. If you haven't tried a whole lot, then you are probably confined to what you know, what your friends do, what your parents have done, what the environment immediately around you is known for. It doesn't mean you can't figure out what you want. For example, do you want kids? Or do you not want kids? Have you really thought about that?
What is your career goals? Like, where do you want to be? Do you want to work for someone? Do you want to work for yourself? And how are you going to get there, right? Like, what is important to you? What values do you have? Are you a family person? Are you an individual? Do you want to travel the world? There's so many questions to ask yourself, but you have to identify these things in order to live your true authentic self and become that authentic main character in your life.
And we are not saying that this is easy. This is not easy. You have to ask yourself a bunch of questions. You have to really dive deep because we are all conditioned to our surroundings, our environment,
Absolutely.
Our parents, right? You've got to break through that, like we said in point 1, and you've got to figure out what you truly, truly want, what really makes your heart happy.
Yeah.
And the main thing on this point is it does not have to make sense to anyone else.
No one else, right? You are the main character. You are the most important person to yourself. So let's live that authentic, real life, right? Let's be that main character. And by doing this and identifying what's important to you, what makes you tick, what sets you on fire, what makes you want to jump out of bed, what gets you going, right? And deep down and answer those hard questions. And don't let other influences, like we talked in number 1, don't let those bog you down. Just chase that real authentic dream of your own.
So this is probably the hardest step because it is where you take action.
It's where you take a step, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You can sit there and dream about your dream life all you want. You're never going to reach it unless you start taking some action.
You got to start changing the path that you're on, right? So this means that you may be heading this way, right? And you have to start veering off that path. This is going to take time, but this is what's going to write your story. This is what's going to make you the main character. This is what's going to align your new values, your new what is important to me, and you're going to start working towards that path, right? You're going to start living your authentic main character life.
You've dropped all of those pressures, expectations, unhealthy comparisons. You've really figured out what you want from life, and all there's left to do is to take that action, right? And the main thing on this one is you cannot care what other people think, because if you do, then you are going straight back to point number one. You're worrying about the pressures, you're worrying about the expectations, and like we said in number two, it shouldn't make sense to anybody else. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. As long as it is your truth, you are following what makes you happy, that will make you the main character, and it will lead you, no doubt, towards your dream life.
Absolutely. Like, you cannot care what others think, right? We have a video if you want to check
Yeah.
it out somewhere up there. You want to go throughout your life learning and changing and growing and adapting, but you want to be doing it along the right path. You want to be doing it along your main character path. And as long as you're doing that, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel like you do not have any regrets. You're not going to look back and be like, I wish. You're going to look back and be like, oh, that was awesome. Or, oh, that was hard, but I learned this, right? And it allowed me to get to this, because you're following the correct path. You're on that right journey towards becoming the main character.
That's it. It's going to take time, but as long as you are constantly going with the flow, learning, evolving, learning from those mistakes, and sticking to what is true to your heart, to your truth, then you cannot go wrong, and you will always be the main character.
The authentic main character.
Boom.
That's right.